Welcome to True Crime Case Files, the podcast that delves into the darkest mysteries and investigates the most chilling crimes. In today's episode, we uncover a shocking series of murders that took place in the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida, in July of 2004. The first victim was Dana Carlisle, an 84-year-old woman who had a remarkable life story. Born in Flint, Michigan, in 1920, Dana grew up in a working-class family during the Great Depression. She had a natural talent for nursing and enrolled in the Army Nurse Corps at the age of 18. She was deployed to Europe during World War II, where she witnessed the horrors of war firsthand. She was one of the few nurses who survived the Battle of the Bulge, the deadliest battle in American history. She received several medals for her bravery and service. After the war, Dana continued her nursing career and worked in various hospitals and clinics across the country. She married her high school sweetheart, Frank Carlisle, and had two children, Mark and Lisa. She was a devoted mother and grandmother, and always had a smile on her face. She loved to read, knit, and watch her favorite show, The Golden Girls. She was also an avid fan of the Detroit Tigers, and never missed a game. Dana moved to the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in 2003 after her husband passed away from a heart attack. She wanted to be closer to her daughter, Lisa, who lived in Tampa. She quickly made friends with the other residents and the staff, who admired her cheerful attitude and her compassion for others. She was a leader and a mentor, and often organized activities and events for the nursing home. She had a dream of creating a safe and loving community for the elderly where they could enjoy their golden years with respect and dignity. But Dana's dream would be shattered one July day. Another elderly victim who had trusted their life to the staff of the Raleigh Meadows nursing home, located in a quiet suburb of Pinellas Park. Someone had a sinister plan to end their lives, and the motive would be shocking. It was a scorching day in July of 2004. When a gruesome discovery was made at the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida. The nursing home was a peaceful and comfortable place for the elderly, surrounded by palm trees and flowers. But on that day, a dark shadow fell over the facility, as one of its residents was found murdered in her room. The victim was Dana Carlisle, an 84-year-old woman who had lived a remarkable life. She was a war hero, a nurse, a mother, and a friend to many. She had moved to the nursing home a year ago, after losing her husband of 60 years. She had adjusted well to her new home and was loved by the staff and the other residents. She was always cheerful, kind, and helpful, and had a zest for life that was contagious. But someone had snuffed out that life in a brutal and senseless way. There were no signs of forced entry, robbery, or sexual assault. It seemed like a random and motiveless crime that left everyone baffled and terrified. The person who found Dana's body was Robert J. Murkowski, a 91-year-old man who was also a resident of the nursing home. Robert and Dana had become close friends after meeting at a bingo night. They shared a lot of interests and hobbies such as reading, gardening, and watching reruns of Matlock and Happy Days. They often had dinner together and chatted for hours. But his was shattered when he went to visit Dana in her room that morning. He knocked on her door, but there was no answer. He opened the door and saw her lying on her bed, motionless. He thought she was sleeping and gently called her name. But when he got closer, he realized she was not breathing. He touched her face and felt how cold she was. He screamed and ran to get help. The staff arrived soon after and confirmed that Dana was dead. Robert was in shock and could not stop crying. He told the staff everything he knew about Dana and how much he cared for her. He had no idea who would want to hurt her, or why. He was heartbroken and felt guilty for not being able to protect her. But Robert was not the only one who was grieving. The entire nursing home was in mourning and in fear. Dana was the first victim, but not the last. More residents would be killed in the next 2 weeks. The killer was still at large and had a twisted agenda. Who was behind these murders, and what was their motive? The answer would shock everyone and expose a web of lies, greed, and revenge. Within minutes of the discovery of Dana Carlisle's body, the police were on the scene at the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida. The nursing home was a modern and spacious facility with a capacity of 120 residents. It had a reputation of providing quality care and comfort for the elderly, but on that day, it became the site of a horrific crime that would shock the community. The lead investigators of the case were Detective Jackson and Detective Rokeby, two seasoned and respected detectives from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. They had worked together for over a decade and had solved many high-profile cases, such as the infamous Clearwater serial killer, who had terrorized the city in 2002. They were known for their professionalism, dedication, and intuition. They arrived at the nursing home and were greeted by the staff and the residents, who were visibly shaken and distraught. They were escorted to Dana's room, where they found her lying on her bed, covered with a white sheet. They lifted the sheet and saw her pale and lifeless face. She looked peaceful, as if she had died in her sleep. But the detectives knew better. They noticed a small puncture mark on her arm and a syringe on the floor. They also found a bottle of pain pills on her nightstand, with a prescription label that read, Dana Carlisle, OxyContin, 10 milligrams. Take one every 4 hours as needed for pain. The detectives quickly realized that Dana had been killed by an overdose of pain pills, a method that was unusual and suspicious. They wondered who had access to her medication and why they would want to harm her. They also wondered if there were any other victims, or if Dana was targeted for a specific reason. They had a lot of questions and few answers. They decided to interview the staff and the residents, and to review the security footage and the records of the nursing home. They hoped to find some clues and to catch the killer before they struck again. But they were too late. Dana was the first victim, but not the last. The killer was still on the loose and had a sinister plan. The investigation of the murder of Dana Carlisle, an 84-year-old resident of the Rowley Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida, took a shocking turn when the police identified the first suspect. He was Robert J. Murkowski, a 91-year-old man who was also a resident of the nursing home. He was not only Dana's friend, but also her secret lover. Their affair had started in 2001 when they were both married to other people. They had kept their relationship hidden from their spouses, their families, and their friends. Robert's wife, Helen, had died in 2002 after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. She had been living in a different nursing home, where Robert had visited her every week. He had felt guilty for cheating on her, but he could not resist his feelings for Dana. He had hoped to start a new life with her after Helen's death. But Dana's husband, Frank, had outlived Helen by a year. He had suffered a heart attack in 2003 and had passed away in his sleep. He had been a loving and faithful husband to Dana, and a proud father and grandfather to their children and grandchildren. He had been unaware of Dana's affair and had trusted her completely. Dana had moved to the Rowley Meadows nursing home in 2003 after Frank's death. She had wanted to be closer to her daughter, Lisa, who lived in Tampa. She had also wanted to be with Robert, who had moved there a few months earlier. They had finally been free to be together, without any secrets or lies. They had been happy and had enjoyed their time at the nursing home. They had also been sexually intimate many times and had expressed their love for each other. But their happiness was short-lived. On July 15, 2004, Dana was found dead in her room, killed by an overdose of pain pills. The police arrived at the scene and questioned Robert as a witness. He had been the one who had discovered her body and had called for help. He had claimed that he had gone to see her that morning, as he usually did, and had found her unresponsive. He had said that he had been shocked and saddened by her death, and that he had no idea who would want to harm her. But the police were not convinced by his story. They had noticed some inconsistencies and contradictions in his statements. They had also found some evidence that linked him to the crime. They had found his fingerprints on the syringe and the bottle of pain pills that had been used to kill Dana. They had also found a note in his room that read, "I'm sorry, Dana. I love you, but I can't live without you. Forgive me." They accused him of killing Dana out of jealousy or desperation. They speculated that he had feared that she would leave him, or that he had wanted to end their suffering. They interrogated him for hours, trying to get confession or a motive. But Robert remained calm and composed, and denied any involvement in the murder. He said that he loved Dana and that he would never hurt her. He said that the note was a suicide note that he had written a long time ago but had never acted on. He said that the fingerprints were a coincidence and that he had no access to the pain pills. He said that he was innocent and that someone else had killed Dana. But who and why? The police had no other suspects or leads. Was Robert really the killer, or was he a scapegoat? Was this a crime of passion or a cover-up? Was there more to this case than met the eye? The answer would shock everyone and reveal a dark and twisted plot that involved corruption, conspiracy, and revenge. The murder of Dana Carlisle, an 84-year-old resident of the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida, was a shocking and tragic event. But it was only the beginning of a nightmare that would haunt the nursing home for weeks. The killer was not done yet and had a list of targets. The next victim was Robert J. Murkowski, a 91-year-old man who was also a resident of the nursing home. He was not only Dana's friend, but also her secret lover. Robert was under suspicion for Dana's murder, but he maintained his innocence. He said that he loved Dana and that he would never hurt her. He said that someone else had killed her and framed him. He said that he had no motive, no access, and no evidence. He said that he was a scapegoat and that the real killer was still on the loose. But the police did not believe him. They thought that he had killed Dana out of jealousy or desperation. They thought that he had feared that she would leave him, or that he had wanted to end their suffering. To them, he was the killer, and they had caught him. But they were wrong. Robert was not the killer, but the next victim. He was found dead in his bed, also overdosed on pain pills, just 2 days after his arrest. His death confirmed the suspicions of the detectives. It was clear that these deaths were not suicides, but cold-blooded murders. The investigation took a sinister turn as the police realized that they were dealing with a serial killer within the nursing home. A serial killer who had a list of targets and a twisted agenda. A serial killer who was not done yet, and who had identity that would shock everyone. The breakthrough in the investigation of the murders of Dana Carlisle and Robert J. Murkowski, 2 residents of the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida, came on a stormy night when the police searched the nursing home for clues. They stumbled upon a hidden stash of secret recordings that revealed a dark and disturbing truth. The recordings were made by Carly Burgley, a 38-year-old single mother of 3 who worked as an aide at the nursing home. She had a secret hobby that involved recording the intimate and sexual moments of the residents without their consent or knowledge. She had installed hidden cameras and microphones in their rooms and had captured their most private and personal moments, including sex. She had then sold these recordings online, mainly to Japan, where there was a high demand for sexual material involving the elderly. She had made an estimated $15,000 from this illegal and immoral activity and had no remorse or guilt. But her scheme had backfired when she had recorded Dana and Robert. She had not known that they were lovers and had been surprised by their affair. She had also been afraid that they had discovered her secret and had threatened to expose her. She had panicked and had decided to kill them before they could ruin her. She had used her access to their medication and had injected them with a lethal dose of pain pills. She had then planted the evidence to make it look like Robert had killed Dana, and then himself. She had thought that she had gotten away with it, and had continued her explicit recordings. But she had not counted on the police, who had found her stash and had traced it back to her. They had exposed her as the killer and as the mastermind behind a sick and twisted business. In the midst of the investigation into the chilling series of murders at the Raleigh Meadows nursing home, a breakthrough occurred. The focus shifted to Carly Burgley, a 38-year-old single mother of 3 and an aide at the nursing home. As the police interrogated her, a complex and troubled past began to unravel. Carly's story was one of desperation and a relentless desire to provide for her family. It was revealed that she had a history of drug addiction, a battle she fought fiercely while trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. However, her involvement in the production and distribution of sexually explicit recordings added a sinister layer to her already troubled life. During the interrogation, Carly's emotions were palpable. Anger, fear, and regret danced across her face as she struggled to maintain composure. The weight of her actions bore down on her, and she knew that the consequences would be severe. The detectives pressed her for answers, seeking to unravel the truth hidden beneath her troubled exterior. The investigation took a dark turn as the police delved further into Carly's life. They discovered a web of connections, linking her to a network of individuals involved in the production and distribution of secret sexually explicit materials, specifically of the elderly. It was a world shrouded in secrecy, operating under the radar of law enforcement. As the media caught wind of the case, news blared with sensationalism. The local newspaper, the Pinellas Park Gazette, dedicated coverage to the shocking revelations, captivating the community. As the investigation continued, the detectives meticulously pieced together the puzzle, uncovering the truth behind the series of murders. The case would go down in history as one of the most shocking and disturbing crimes to rock Pinellas Park. After months of investigation, the police finally cracked the case of the nursing home murders. The killer was none other than Carly Burgley, a 38-year-old aide who worked at the Raleigh Meadows nursing home. She was arrested on July 29, 2004, and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Carly Burgley had a dark secret that she was desperate to hide. She was involved in a lucrative but illegal business of making and selling sexually explicit recordings of the elderly residents to Japan. She used hidden cameras and microphones to capture the intimate moments of the unsuspecting victims. The first of her targets was Dana Carlisle, an 84-year-old former nurse who served in World War II. Dana was a beloved figure at the nursing home, known for her kindness and compassion. She had a secret romance with Robert J. Murkowski, a 91-year-old widower. Carly Burgley saw them as an opportunity to make more money and recorded their sexual encounters. However, Carly's scheme was almost discovered by Dana. Carly panicked and decided to silence Dana by overdosing her on pain pills. She staged the scene to look like a suicide and hoped to escape suspicion. But Robert, who found Dana's body, was heartbroken and suspicious. He told the police that Dana would never kill herself and that he suspected foul play. Carly realized that Robert was a loose end and decided to eliminate him as well. She used the same method of overdosing him on pain pills and made it look like another suicide. But the police were not convinced. They noticed the similarities between the 2 deaths and launched a thorough investigation. They found traces of Carly's fingerprints and DNA on the pill bottles and the victims' bodies. They also discovered her hidden stash of recordings and traced her connection to a Japanese website, karaishasexy.gp. The police arrested Carly Burgley and had charged her with 2 counts of first-degree murder and several counts of invasion of privacy, extortion, and fraud. They had also seized her recordings and had contacted the authorities in Japan to track down the buyers. She claimed that she was driven by financial desperation and that she loved her family. She said that she regretted her actions and asked for forgiveness. But the police and the victims' families were not moved by her words. They said that she was a cold-blooded killer who preyed on the vulnerable and betrayed their trust. The courtroom drama unfolded as the trial of Carly Burgley, the accused murderer of the Raleigh Meadows nursing home killings, reached its climax. The prosecution, led by the relentless prosecutor, Janet Carolborg, presented a compelling case against Burgley. With attention to detail, Carolborg painted a vivid picture of the events that unfolded in the sweltering summer of July 2004. The trial, held in the Pinellas Park Courthouse, drew significant local media attention. Journalists from local newspapers, such as the Pinellas Tribune, were eager to report on the sensational case. The families of the victims, Dana Carlisle and Robert J. Murkowski, sat anxiously in the gallery, hoping for justice to be served. The prosecution's case relied heavily on forensic evidence and eyewitness testimonies. Expert witnesses, including renowned medical examiner Dr. Samantha Collins, testified about the cause of death and the presence of pain pills in the victims' bodies. The prosecution also presented phone records and surveillance footage from the nursing home, which placed Burgley at the scene of the crimes. Defense attorney Janelle Lavrov, known for his fierce advocacy, fought tirelessly to protect his client's rights. Lavrov argued that the evidence against Burgley was circumstantial and lacked a direct link to the murders. He questioned the credibility of the witnesses and raised doubts about the motives attributed to Burgley. Finally, after careful deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. The judge, Honorable Paul Thompson, announced that Carly Burgley was found guilty on multiple counts of murder. Gasps filled the courtroom as the families of the victims embraced each other, finding solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. As Burgley was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, the media frenzy intensified. News outlets across Tampa Bay reported on the trial, dissecting the evidence and analyzing the motives behind the killings. The case became a cautionary tale, highlighting the need for increased security measures in nursing homes and the potential dangers of hidden secrets. In the aftermath of the trial, the lives of all those involved were forever changed. The shocking series of murders that took place at the Raleigh Meadows nursing home in Pinellas Park, Florida, in July of 2004 left a lasting impact on the community and beyond. Journalists from across the Tampa area flocked to Pinellas Park, eager to report on the sensational details of the trial. The local newspaper, the Pinellas Park Gazette, dedicated coverage to the trial with headlines like "Justice Served," "Burgley Convicted of Murder," and "The Burgley Trial. A Community's Healing Begins." The impact of these horrific crimes extended beyond the courtroom. The Raleigh Meadows nursing home, once a place of care and comfort, became infamous in the community. The residents and their families were left questioning the safety and security of nursing homes across the country. The tragedy prompted a conversation about the need for stricter regulations and oversight in elder care facilities. In response to the murders, the Raleigh Meadows nursing home implemented a series of security measures to prevent future tragedies. The facility installed state-of-the-art surveillance cameras, increased staff training on recognizing signs of abuse or neglect, and implemented stricter visitor policies. These changes aim to restore trust within the community and ensure the safety and well-being of the residents. As the years passed, the wounds inflicted by these heinous crimes slowly began to heal. The victims' families found solace in knowing that justice had been served, while the community rallied together to support one another through the difficult process of healing. The memory of the Raleigh Meadows nursing home murders remains a somber reminder of the need for vigilance and compassion in caring for our elderly population. In this episode of True Crime Case Files, we delved into the chilling series of murders that struck the Raleigh Meadows nursing home. The lives of Dana Carlisle and Robert J. Murkowski were tragically cut short by Carly Burgley, a single mother driven by desperation and a dark secret. As we reflect on this harrowing tale, let us remember the victims and the resilience of those who survived. Stay tuned for more gripping true crime stories on True Crime Case Files.
Hey, true crime case solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe, true crime case solvers.